Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon. It is a beautiful day in the Lord. I am glad to be here presenting this content to you today. And this is blog Media Breeze. As you can see in the lower left hand corner of your screen, that's where it should be in purple. That is the name of this channel, and that is the name I'm going to keep for this channel because I like it. I know someone got down in my comments and told me I needed to change my name. I'm not going to change my name. If I do not ask you for advice, then please don't provide it. I will thank you for it and keep it moving. Um, but I was not going to do this, as you guys know, but I can't help myself. I really like providing this content. So I'm just going to get right into it. This is content about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion part two. It aired on last night. And it was quite a filler for a reunion because um, the only meat in the reunion was Erica, was Andy's interview with Erica. And I understand why he had to be really kind to her because they do not want her to get up and walk off off the screen. And quite frankly, I thought that in these reunions, if you did get up and walk out and did not return, that you could not get paid. Because they do not receive their checks until after they've done a full on reunion. At least that is what I believed. Okay. Um, so I see the Googler showed up and then left. I know when the Googler is here, you guys. I know you think I'm just talking a bunch of mess over here whenever I talk about the Googler, but no, they are really watching my channel as if I'm a criminal, and I am not. My record is very clean. Okay. But they don't like some of the things I've said in my content, and it is what it is at this point. Nonetheless, this is reunion part two, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. I want to start out with the questions that Andy asked Erica because I have a lot of thoughts about that. And my concern, really, you guys, is the victims. And I don't understand why your attorneys or a human legal team would not at least advise you to give some form of apology. But I do realize there are some attorneys out there who are really constipated and they need a colonic. They really do, guys. I digress. So Andy starts out, he asks Erica, why not leave Tom sooner if he was cheating on you? And Erica says, well, the cheating was a part of it. There's so much more there. And I've said to Tom, if you are in love with someone else, divorce me. Don't make me out to be the bad guy. And Andy asked, well, what was his response? And she goes, nothing. He said nothing. And I just want to pause here and say, I'm not really that interested in Erica's marriage. I really am more interested in her humanity towards the victims, which I still have yet to see. That's what I'm more interested in. I digress. The next question he asked her is, um, well, how long do you think he was unfaithful? Years. She just gave that one response. Years. And her responses are very quick and sharp. He asked her, were you faithful to him? She pauses and she looks up and she says, well, yes, up until I filed for divorce. And you guys, I have to say to that, about 2 years ago, I heard she was unfaithful to him. I really did. And I heard it was someone on her team, and this is alleged. Okay. They start playing flashbacks of, her relationship with Tom, and she was in the car with Dorit and talking about how her and Tom had an opportunity to talk and that it was really nice to reconnect. And then they show the scene where she's texting the ladies that she's filing for divorce, and she thanks them for her support and lets them know it's not going to be easy. And so they come back to her, and Andy asks her how did it make her feel watching those replays again. She goes, "It's okay. It's okay." Again, a very sharp, quick reply. He says, "You've been on the show 6 years, and you've painted this picture of a great relationship between you and Tom. And the viewers are disturbed. They don't understand this." And Erica says, look, and I'm just paraphrasing a lot of this, guys. All marriages are complex. You know, they were they were good times, there were bad times, there were challenging times. All marriages go through ish. And she was practically saying her marriage is no different, which that's a true statement. I think I have this is me. I've developed some empathy for Erica, and I go back and forth with my thought process on her. I really believe that she has emotional PTSD. That's what I call it, for lack of a better word. Um, I say emotional PTSD is because I believe Erica suffered some childhood emotional trauma, and her way to respond to that was to date older men. And she has talked about dating older men, and that could not have sat well with her parents or her family as they were raising her. It sounds as though she became um, retaliatory in her relationship with her family. And some children do that in order to deal with whatever it is that is happening in the household. They rebel. And it sounds like she became rebellious. And that is probably what led her into becoming a, you know, a young woman who works in a nightclub dancing for men throwing money at her. And for that, I empathize with her because I believe that little girl, that young woman, is still living inside of her. And that is what is keeping her from putting out to the victims what most of us would like for her to do. We would like to see her show more humanity because, guys, even in this reunion part two, she was quite hard. She was quite rough to me. And I know she was trying to show that she was soft, and some people do not have the capacity to do that, and she's one of these people who does not have the capacity to do that. Um, I I will say also, Andy went on to ask her. Let's see here. Let me see where I left off here. Okay, okay. He asked her a question about her marriage. Um, he asked, and she says that she's not at liberty to say what and when she filed for divorce. And I'm thinking, well, you can aren't divorces, can't you get that from public record? You can go in to get when someone filed for a divorce. That's public record. Why would that be hidden? It for me, this reunion, Andy really asked too many questions about the marriage, and I get it. I understand because Bravo is trying to protect themselves in this process as well, you guys. So they needed to expose, I think they needed to expose her liability. They needed to have her answer in terms of her liability to this whole issue about the embezzlement, because this is embezzlement and they are treating it as though it's civil, and it's not. It's embezzlement. Andy says, eventually he says to her, I guess what everybody is fixated on is whether Tom ripped off all these people. So let's fixate on that for a minute and tell me where you put that in terms of your feelings for him. She says, right. I really and truly hope that is not true because that is not the man I married. I believe her with that. I really do. I believe her that she thinks that is not the man that she married. I believe that in the same way he used his head to embezzle those victims, that is the same way that he used his head to keep her in the marriage. And Tom may have been trying to keep her up her lifestyle because he loved her. He wanted to keep her. He didn't want her to go. And men like that see money as a way to keep the women they love around. And he knew he was older than her and she was younger and that other men would be attracted to her and he didn't want her to leave. It's kind of a sad situation. When you try to empathize from Erica's perspective, it becomes a really sad situation. Andy also asked Erica if she thought that it's true about him, because if it is true, it doesn't look good. Erica's responses are somewhat troubling, but I'm now beginning to see that her legal team may have advised her on how to respond, and they may have had a meeting about this whole reunion before she entered it. I'm sure they did, because her response is, "We still need to get to the bottom of it." And so she's not seeing things from our perspective. We believe that we've gotten to the bottom of it. Like we don't I for me, I don't need any more answers when it comes to the victims. I've gotten to the bottom of it. I don't know what all of the language and the words out here are for at this point. Um, she says, and she goes on to say, we need to get to the bottom of it because there's only one side of the story that's been told. No, there are sides of the story that's been told in the press, Erica, right? In the press and to the public. But in the courtroom, the victims have been justified. So this is not alleged. The victims have been justified. They're supposed to get this money and they didn't get it. The only reason they would not have gotten it is if Tom did not provide it to them, because Boeing didn't provide it to them. Boeing wrote the check to the law firm. And I'm going to tell you from someone who has been in a situation where I have been in a litigation. Um, a lot of times when you are after you've come to an agreement on what is going to be paid out, what happens is you determine how that money is going to be dispersed. At that point, the option is the company can send that money directly to you, or they can send it to your attorney and your attorney pays you. I'm going to tell you, if you're ever in that situation, you need to opt for the company to send the money directly to you and not to your attorney. Make sure the check comes to you and not to your attorney. They can send it to you FedEx or UPS. So I I think that what happened here was it had to be that Tom allegedly, I'm saying allegedly because of what I'm about to say, allegedly set up the whole process so the checks would come to his law firm and he would then disperse it. And Boeing, seeing as how he represented the victims, agreed to that. They thought they were dealing with a credible attorney. They didn't know they were dealing with an embezzler or a snake, because that's what this man is. I don't care if he is in his 80s. The only way for him to get by this is to make this right with the victims. And it appears that he is too greedy to do that. At, at the same time, his wife, Erica Girardi, who is now Erica Jane, has been his wife for 2 decades. And you have to figure out, okay, what role does she play in this? Because she's the wife. So the courts have to figure that out. And that being said, I understand her fear of losing everything because she has lived this lifestyle and she has come a long way from it. And I digress on that. Andy goes on to tell her, these allegations include your name. So what do you want people to know? So she wants people to know she feels terrible and that this is not who she is. She says, "This is not who I am, and I hope this is not who he is." That's a protective statement right there. She's protecting him with that statement. And I hope this is not who he is because she loves the man. She was with him for 2 decades. You can't live with someone 2 decades and not love them, not develop some kind of, you know, care about their well-being. She is not with him now, and I think she may have even wanted to be out of that marriage a long time ago and just did not get out because she liked the money that was coming in. At some point, Kyle interjects and says that, well, Sutton owned the whole baseball team and she didn't know it. The ladies are coddling her too much. They're putting their mouth in it, trying to protect her. Let her stand on her own 2 feet and answer the questions, Dorit and Kyle. They interjected too much, and Lisa Renna. They interjected too much in this. I mean, several times they did it. And it really, I was like, they are so disgusting, these women. In this part of the reunion, anyway, they exhibited just some disgust. And I was like outdone with them. Um, I believe Erica is sorry. One of the questions came in from a viewer who said that she created a whole song called It's Expensive to Be Me. And, you know, Erica says that it was just a song and she didn't want to make too much out of it. It was just a fun song that she did for entertainment purposes. Next, we have them talking about Lisa Rinna. Lisa Rinna had no storyline, so they had to use her daughter. They used her daughter and Scott Disick because she had no storyline. And it dawned on me that the reason Rinna wanted Denise off the show is because Denise, they paid Denise $4 million to be on the show, and I think she had to do a certain amount of seasons. So I don't know how that panned out since she did not come back. Rinna, meanwhile, was only getting 500K. And I believe she looked at Denise as though Denise had the audacity to come in there and take that amount of money when she was only getting 500. So I digress on that. Oh, I wanted to go back and cover this because it was Erica. Erica asked Kyle, "Will you please tell me what your friend said?" This is when they were talking about Tom and Tom being in the nursing home and having the black eye and being having dementia. So Kyle starts to talk about her friend Jen, who experienced that either with her mom or her dad or somebody, and said that this is how they behave. They tell stories. One minute they're up, and the next minute they do not have their memory. And then Dorit jumps in and goes, "Oh yeah, because he was just regaling us with his story. It was just a hot mess. He might have dementia." I looked at him. I've seen people who have dementia. He might have dementia. These victims may not be able to get their money out of Tom. On the other hand, how is Tom? I think his brother is his conservatory. I was about to ask how is he paying for his needs right now? And that would be his brother is over his conservatorship. So What does it mean to the victims whenever someone who embezzled money from you has now taken over the conservatorship? What does that mean in this? And how does bankruptcy play into this? Because depending on the type of bankruptcy they filed, they would have had to done a 13. They can't do a 7 and absolve of everything because they have assets. So I guess the trustee determines how the conservatorship will handle the monies that's going to be delved out. Tom is going to have to go to a very inexpensive nursing home for real because these victims have got to get paid. He could have paid the victims, you guys, and still been able to live well and continue to practice law. But he stole all of the money. This is not alleged anymore. A judge has ruled in favor of the victim. So he stole all of the money. Or the law firm, it's just, it's a mess. It is a mess. Erica needs to understand. Listen, this is what I would say to Erica: get off your high horse, be human, tell your attorneys to compose a document filled with apologies. You give a press conference or get on Zoom or something and communicate that to the victims. And you are going to have to be okay stepping down from your throne. You're going to have to come down and live like the rest of the average people. You're going to have to do that for a while until you can create something on your own. And maybe this is what you need to do. You're only 50. Hey, those of us in our 50s are, we're still, we can still walk. We're still healthy. We can still live and enjoy life. So you still have time to rebuild and at least prepare for your retirement so you can go into your years, you know, with something. But you're going to have to come off this $1 million high horse. You're no longer a millionaire or millionaires. You no longer have access to millions. You're going to have to let that go. So you're going to need to give an apology and humble yourself so that God can lift you up, because pride comes before the fall. And at some point, if we don't become humble amongst or amid our circumstances, we're going to fall. And I've been there, I've taken a fall. And that's not what you want to do. You don't want to take that fall. You want to be humble so God can lift you up. And that's what I would say to Erica. The other ladies are way too easy on her in this reunion part two. And they got 4 parts. I hope the next 2 parts are something, because this is like really, we already know the other ladies have nothing. They have nothing in terms of a storyline. Lisa has no storyline. Kyle has no storyline. Sutton, actually, on this couch, Erica should have been on one side and Sutton on the other. Why is Kyle sitting over there? And Kyle's my girl. I love her, but she should not be over there. She must have said something to Andy, or maybe Andy just needs to be gone. Maybe he is not as objective as he thought he was. The seating arrangement was just very discombobulated. And you put Sutton on the very end. And you told her story first. You should have saved that for last. You should have talked about Renna. Get her out of the way. Ain't nothing exciting about Lisa Renna. Why is she there? She needs to be let go. It's over. I hear they are thinking of bringing back LVP. I was no big fan of LVP. I believed Puppygate. I believe she was leaking those stories. And even though they all leak stories, the point is Lisa didn't take responsibility for that story that she leaked. So everyone else can say whatever they want to out there. I'm not an LVP fan. And also, she stole that idea from Nene Leakes. I believe Nene Leakes when she said that Lisa stole this idea about a restaurant from her. So Lisa is conniving. And I think that people on these YouTube streets who really like her and really go for her, they are also conniving. So Lisa Vanderpump, I'm not for them bringing her back. Are there not enough women in Beverly Hills that, or on the outskirts of Beverly Hills, that Bravo can pick and choose and just start a whole new cast? I think that Kyle literally has one more season. Like I said, I like Kyle. Kyle needs to go find her a director or someone. But Kyle has one more season. This next season should be it for Kyle. Bring back Camille Grammer. Get rid of Kyle. Bring back Camille on her own. Bring back Denise. Get rid of Rena and get rid of Dorit. Dorit has had enough seasons already to give us something. She needs to go. And I like Dorit as well, but Dorit needs to go. I would say keep Garcelle one more season. Let's see what she does. Garcelle really annoyed me in this reunion, though. She annoyed me because when they showed Kathy, when they brought Kathy out, uh, Garcelle needs to keep her hands to herself. Um, uh, can we keep our tongues in our mouth? Shout out to Gordon on Real Housewives of Potomac. And can we keep our hands to ourselves? Garcelle, you were touching Erica's face when she cried this past season, and now you got your hands all on Kathy's thigh as she's crying. And keep your hands to yourself. And then she kept sitting over there in agreement with the ladies. It may be that she's trying to keep her reputation intact because she's an actress. Garcelle is also an actress. It's about 12:44 Eastern Standard Time. Hi, Bad and Bougie. How are you? I'm on here ranting and raving today about these Real Housewives. And one of the other things Erica said in this reunion, because you guys, I'm sorry, I cannot talk about Lisa Rinna. Lisa Rinna had no storyline. This should be it for her. If she comes back next season, then you know something is very wrong with the casting of the Real Housewives. Something is very wrong. Lisa Rinna should not come back next season. Um, Kyle should get maybe one more season and be gone. They need to bring back Camille Grammer and bring back Lisa Vanderpump. I know a few moments ago I said no, but if they can't find anyone else, they should bring back Lisa. But if they can, they should not bring back Lisa. Um, they should bring back Denise, but Denise is going to have to open up and stop being a crybaby every time somebody says something to you. And I want to say this. Erica made another comment when Andy was inquiring of her. She said she walked away with only 2 credit cards. Erica, people don't feel bad for stuff like that. Whenever you are caught up in this scandal as you are, people don't feel bad. They don't care if you walked away with 0 credit cards. What do you want us to do? So you walked away with 2 credit cards. I mean, you need a bank account. So you need your debit card and you need one other credit card. Go figure. Okay? You don't need that many credit cards. You need to step down from the millionaire throne. That's what you need to do. Um, she said she had no access to the money. It sounds like she was always having to go through Tom to get money if she needed it. He probably was keeping a tab on all of her spending, and that may have been some of the reason she could not leave the marriage, as she did say on here. Oh my goodness, I digress. She did say that. Regardless of how much money there is, many women feel like they cannot leave. That's what Rena jumps in to say. They kept jumping into her defense, and I'm saying, let this woman stand on her own 2 feet. Out of my empathy for her, I want her to. I'm up in the air in terms of whether or not she should come back next season. I really am because I'm tired of the story, and if they do it next season, I'm going to be even more tired of it. I don't want it anymore. Um, I do think they need to bring back Camille Grammer, give Garcelle one more season to see if she can develop a backbone, a black girl's backbone. Okay. um, and Kyle one more season. I'm really almost tired of having Kyle on the show. I want her to venture out and do production in movies or elsewhere or something else. I am just ready for her to be gone, and I'm ready for Dorit to completely be gone because I love Dorit's fashions. And but however, Dorit doesn't really bring anything of quality to the show other than the fashions. I'm saying she hasn't really brought anything to the show. I want Crystal back one more season just to see what she does. I definitely want Sutton back. I'm in the air about Erica. Rena can definitely go. Rena and Dorit, those two can definitely just go for real. And that's what I will say about that. That being said, you guys, I'm going to get on out of here. I just wanted to come on and give my review, and I'm trying to see if I have anything else that I have documented in my notes to see that I need to say to you. And oh, this is what I wanted to say. At the end, they are they show Kathy and Kyle. And I thought I was originally thinking that Kyle, Kathy, and Kim were very young women, like teenagers when their mom passed away. But Kathy was 42, Kyle was in her 30s, and Kim was 37. So Kathy's the oldest, then Kim, then Kyle. I didn't know that. I thought Kim was the youngest, but Kyle is the youngest. And so she would have been the youngest when her mom died, and she was in her 30s because the mom passed away like 20 years ago, 19 years ago. So when Kathy was crying, originally I was like, oh my gosh, she was a little girl. She's never dealt with this. But no, she was a grown woman. And my mom has passed too. So I know, I still dream about my mom. She comes to me, I'll digress that. But Kathy never dealt Kathy's not dealing with something, whether it's her mom's death or whether it's another situation that she's never dealt with, her husband's alleged cheating. I digress. This was years ago, okay? Also, her daughters and what happened to Paris in the boarding school. There are some things that Kathy has not dealt with because you guys, that was a full on breakdown. We witnessed a full on breakdown. That is something that is stirring very deep in her because most people in these scenarios can hold it together if it's something that that you've had a thought about, that you've dealt with it a long time ago, and you're sitting there on the couch and you're thinking about it. You're not going to burst out. You might shed a light tear, but you're not going to have a full on uh traumatic episode like the one that we witnessed with Kathy. I don't know if she has had therapy. This requires not even a life coach. This requires deep, she's going to need to open up because some people go through therapy and they don't really open up. They go through therapy to get through something very surface, something on the surface, as opposed to going deep and talking about the reality of your life and even the reality of how you have played a role in whatever it is that you've experienced. Because the hardest thing for adults to admit is how they play a role in whatever it is that happens in their life. And I can talk to you about this because I am a living example of someone who has had to take responsibility about my role in certain situations. And it is not until then that you can really have an adult conversation about things like death. She couldn't even talk about her mother's death. And I'm not even thinking that it's just her mother's death. I believe there are a lot of other things going on there. It's the mother's death on top of this, on top of that, on top of that. And on top of this, and even if she has had therapy, it wasn't good therapy because we would not have witnessed that if it were. We witnessed a full on breakdown, emotional breakdown. And when you see that, that person needs to get into therapy and may even need to write on paper what you want to do is write how you play a role in whatever it is that's happened, if you play one at all, because everything may not be everybody's fault, right? It may be something that you felt about the situation as it was happening. So you write down what you were feeling and you have to be honest about it. You can't sugarcoat it. She is 63 years old. She's in her early 60s. And that's a long life to live without dealing with your issues. And I'm not faulting anyone. I think tears are very important. They are. But when it gets to the point that you are having full on episodes in the presence of people you have not known that long, and from just one thing being mentioned, that it goes way deeper than that, people. It goes way deeper. It goes way deeper. So I did want to go ahead and bring that up. The thing that annoyed me in that particular scene was Garcelle at the end, and you have to look closely to see it. She's rubbing Kathy's thigh. Garcelle, keep your hands to yourself. You look ridiculous. Why are you touching people? Let people have their episodes. You don't need to jump in. That means Garcelle also has some things that it doesn't take a rocket scientist, you guys. It doesn't. You can look at the way people react to things and tell what's going on with them. But you can only do that if you've dealt with your own shish. Okay. And I've dealt with my own shish. So I can do that. Okay. I digress. Thank you all for showing up. If there's anyone there you want to get in the comments and have a discussion, you can. I was trying to get this done before Kempire comes on because he comes on at 1 and I was trying to beat him to the punch. Okay. He's out there doing the deadgone thing. And I do support him. I go over sometimes just to like his content. I do the same thing with Miss Misha. I do the same thing with Contrary Canary. I do the same thing with The Bishop. I love The Bishop. I love his content that he's putting out. And he is very what we call in marketing, I cannot even think of the word, but I'll say something else. He's very unique in his content because no one else is out here doing what he is doing on his channel. Um, it, and he needs to really captivate that really quickly. He needs to really captivate the audience who needs to hear it because I think that his audience it can be bigger. There are a lot of brothers and sisters who can use that. So if you see him or talk to him, I may even go over there and send him a note. He can increase his audience by collaborating. And I think that his ideas can collaborate with the lead attorney. I think he needs to go on that channel and the lead attorney needs to, give him some accolades and because he is really they're putting out really good content over on The Bishop. And to all two of my people on here listening to me right now, go over there and listen to him, okay? So I digress. I know I've said a lot. I said a lot because I know I'm not going to be back on here for a while. So actually, because I didn't do Love and Marriage, I may wait till the end and do and Marriage and just summarize everything. But I digress, and you guys have a great rest of the day. And remember to hit that like, subscribe, and notifications if you haven't. If you're over here and you didn't hit the like button, please hit the like button, okay? And thank you for showing up. Bye bye.